Okay, here with Keith at the Cemetery Hill. I'm just going to ask a couple questions about this last conversation that we just had. So first, what was your biggest takeaway from the things we just talked about?
I think it's important to meet people where they're at. Like sometimes we assume, don't really align and figure out what's going to be most impactful for them. We think and say, hey, I'm going to give some order or some direction. And they might not really understand what we're asking. Meeting them where they're at, aligning to make sure we execute what we're expecting.
Yeah, that's great. Why is that important within your team to have that thing going on?
Yeah, we have a diverse group of individuals who all want to be successful, and we need to be there to support them and align to their needs and make sure we're supporting them and setting them up for success.
All right, so we're here at McPherson's Ridge. We've got General Reynolds, the monument in the background. We just had a conversation. So what was your biggest takeaway from what we just talked about here?
My biggest takeaway was in managing my team, I'm going to have different levels of initiative coming from each one of them. And I'm already thinking of the people who have the most initiative to the people who have the least initiative. And now I know how to analyze, especially the people on my team who have the least initiative, trying to figure out the why behind it. So now I can really look and say, okay, I know that I don't have buy-in. I don't have accountability. I need more focused direction from me on setting the guardrails and having them understand and align with the common good as well.
Okay, so after day one of our mission here at Antietam, just wanted to ask each of you, just what are your key takeaways from the day?
Yeah, I'll go. The first thing that I felt is going to benefit me is delegation. Sometimes as leaders, it's hard to delegate. But with some of the techniques and us walking through some different scenarios, I think I'm going to probably excel at that now a little bit more than I did before. For me, delegation was an important topic.
Great.
Yeah, I would say accountability, feed forward, spending time just having that discussion around how, why, and really diving into some of the principles around pulling out that accountability within individuals. Because what it leads up to is driving discretionary effort and perpetual readiness. And that's something every manager's trying to tap into when they're leading a team.
All right, we got Len here. We're at the Virginia Monument at the Gettysburg Battlefield. We're at the base of where Pickett's Charge formed up for actions on day 3. And we just had a great conversation about several different topics. But Len, I just want to ask you, what was your biggest takeaway from what we just talked about?
I think for me, and just looking at risk and trying to assess how serious it is, how probable it is. I think we can always do a better job in business of really asking ourselves, is this threat, this potential threat serious? And is it really probable? And then coming up with strategies. More importantly, it's important to take time to make that assessment. I don't think a lot of us, I think we run hot often in business. We're always chasing a goal, and we don't do enough time to reflect and assess all our threats. And so that's something I'll take away from today's conversation.
Okay, so we're here with Matt on Little Round Top. We just had a discussion about the actions of the 20th Maine, led by Joshua Chamberlain here during the Battle of Gettysburg. And we'll just talk about that a little bit. Matt, what was your biggest, most important takeaway from our conversation we just had?
I thought the biggest takeaway was when he had those 120 soldiers that were prisoners and he had multiple options of what to do, the first thing he did was give them a meal, sit down and listen to their perspective, and really then explain to them how important they were going to be if they wanted to join up with him, and how afterwards he would do everything he could to make sure that they weren't listed up as deserters. And I think the way he did that, he actually got buy-in from them at that point, which isn't what you always think of when you hear about the military. It's usually you do what I tell you. But I really think, and that's why they fought so hard for him. Yeah. So that was my biggest takeaway.
All right, so we're here at Barlow's Knoll here on the battlefield of Gettysburg with Sam. So Sam, we just had a discussion. What was your biggest takeaway from that last discussion we had?
Yeah, love just the team, how Chris talked us through just about evaluating performance and where to spend our time. I just love this last discussion about when there's drifting in behaviors and drifting in performance, how to manage that and how to get them back on track and how to detect early signs to try and get in front of it. I also like the graph he talked about. Majority of our team is going to be in that average to above average, and how maybe spending more time there can really drive behaviors for the whole team. So those are two of the biggest takeaways that I got from the session.